tragic mistake, a broken family, and a controversial verdict. How did this happen? And what does it mean for justice? November 1st, 2022. A baby has been mercilessly baked alive. She was carelessly left in a car with the windows down. The grandmother is being charged with aggravated manslaughter. Imagine being killed by someone who you should have complete trust in. This case raises many questions about the role of parents in the safety of a child, criticisms about the way that we treat children, and questions about what this case says about our culture. This case is one of many. However, despite this, it doesn't cease to be a tragedy. In this video, we will discuss this case, the media storm that surrounds it, and the philosophy, statistics, and ethics of what happened in this car. Tracey Nix is a Florida woman who was given a simple task: take care of the baby, 7-month-old Uriel Schock. It's a simple task. Food, baby formula, change diapers, take to the grocery store, and keep her in one of the baby seats that they have built into shopping carts. They're built specifically so that people can take their babies and infants into the store. However, Tracey had a lapse in judgment. She had been living by herself for so long that she was so used to going to the store, buying stuff and leaving, that she hadn't even noticed that she had left her infant granddaughter in a car with the windows down. Unfortunately, the car would heat up in this weather, and without a way to vent the hot air, the car would begin to bake. As you might have gathered, infants aren't very resistant to heat. It wasn't long before Uriel died of heat stroke. Tracey was in the store for hours, and by the time she got back to the car, it was too late. Tracey was initially charged with aggravated manslaughter due to her role in the child's death. For clarification, the definition of manslaughter is the unlawful killing of another person through reckless conduct that falls short of murder. Meaning that if you accidentally killed someone, that's manslaughter, intentional killing is homicide. In the case of the murder, this is accurate because Tracey was careless and left the baby in a car in November. It might be reasonable at first. It was November, however, in Florida, the November months, and temperatures can reach up to a brisk 28 degrees Celsius or about 79 Fahrenheit, which isn't blistering heat. However, the baby was in the car for hours, so even if the heat wasn't too high, the heat would accumulate in the car and fry the baby over hours. However, despite the tragic circumstances technically qualifying as manslaughter under Florida law, the defense successfully argued to reduce the charge to the lesser offense of leaving a child unattended in a vehicle for more than 15 minutes, resulting in great bodily harm. This lesser charge carries a maximum sentence of 6 years in prison, significantly less severe than the potential penalties for aggravated manslaughter. The defense likely emphasized mitigating factors, such as the lack of intent, Tracey Nix's cooperation with authorities, and the emotional toll the incident had already taken on her and her family. While the jury's decision spared Nix the harsher manslaughter conviction, the ruling still underscores the gravity of the situation. Nix now faces the prospect of up to 6 years behind bars, with her attorney already planning to appeal the conviction in hopes of reducing the sentence further or potentially overturning the verdict entirely. This case raises questions about the balance between accountability and compassion in situations where negligence rather than malice leads to devastating consequences. However, despite all this legalese, it's easy to forget the human cost of this case. Schock's family is now ruined because of Tracey's mistake, and now a father and mother are left without a child. And worst of all, an entire was cut short. Going to school, going to university, getting a job, having your first kiss, getting married, and having kids. All the things that should have been granted to her were taken from her due to no fault of her own. Tracey was entrusted with the responsibility of taking care of the baby, and because of it was very busy because of this responsibility. She was known to be a kind and caring person who cared deeply about her family. Grandparents often share a special bond with their grandchildren, and Uriel was no exception. Despite the stress that she brought, Tracey deeply loved her baby. Thanks to her own tragic mistake, however, she would no longer be allowed to see her granddaughter. Uriel's mother, Tracey Nix, had a close relationship with her mother. She trusted her mother to be able to take care of her daughter because she already had experience raising her, so she should be able to easily take care of a small infant for a short while. She was skilled and qualified at taking care of kids. After the tragedy, she was split into two. She loved her mother and knew that she meant no harm by what she did, and never in a million years would her mother intentionally try to kill her daughter. And of course, despite her grief, she still loved her mother. On the other hand, she killed her daughter, and there was no excuse for it, especially when her daughter's death was so easily avoidable. The heartbreak of losing her daughter in such a way left her grappling with grief, anger, and sadness. Her relationship with her mother has been permanently changed. This tragedy has undoubtedly had a profound effect on the entire Nix family. The emotional toll of losing a child is overwhelming under any circumstance, but the fact that it was a mistake made by a family member adds a layer of complexity. Tracey Nix, who has been found guilty of leaving the child unattended, is now dealing with the weight of her mistake. While she did not intend to harm her granddaughter, the consequences of her actions have been irreversible. For Kayla, her grief is compounded by the fact that the person she trusted most to care for her daughter is the one responsible for her death. While there is no indication that Kayla holds any ill will toward her mother, their relationship has likely changed significantly. Such a loss is something that families rarely recover from, and it will likely take years for the family to process the depth of the emotional wounds caused by this tragedy. The devastating loss of Uriel Schock has cast a long shadow, extending beyond the immediate family of Tracey Nix and Kayla Nix. The emotional ripple effects of this tragedy have profoundly impacted the extended family and the surrounding community, leaving behind a trail of grief, trauma, and a profound sense of loss. Grandparents, aunts, uncles, and close family friends, who were once part of a vibrant and loving family network, now grapple with the profound sense of loss and the lingering questions surrounding Uriel's death. The joy and laughter that once filled their gatherings have been replaced by a somber silence, a constant reminder of the precious life that was tragically cut short. This incident has irrevocably altered the dynamics within the family. Trust, once a cornerstone of their relationships, may be subtly eroded and replaced by anxieties and uncertainties. The fear of similar tragedies, however unlikely, may cast a long shadow over future interactions between family members, particularly those involving the care of children. Furthermore, this tragedy has shaken the broader community. News of Uriel's death has likely spread through local networks, leaving an indelible mark on the collective consciousness. This event serves as a poignant reminder of the fragility of life and the importance of prioritizing child safety. It may lead to increased awareness within the community about the dangers of leaving children unattended in vehicles, prompting conversations about responsible parenting and the importance of vigilance. Legally speaking, this crime may seem straightforward with clear legal implications. However, this case delves into a deeper layer, raising a multitude of intriguing moral questions that extend beyond the confines of legal statutes. At the heart of these questions lies the fundamental responsibility adults bear towards the care and safety of children. Do you think it's okay to leave a pet locked in a cage without food till it starved to death? Probably not. In the context of this case, we can make the argument that Tracey had a moral responsibility to take care of her granddaughter. Much like a dog, she had a set of responsibilities she must tend to. The reason for this was simple. She had a close relationship with Uriel, and she had been entrusted with the responsibility to take care of her. The argument could be made that, because she failed to uphold a basic standard of care, she failed as a caretaker and is morally responsible for what she has done. You never make mistakes, right? I want you to imagine yourself in Tracey's shoes. Been spending almost all of your waking time taking care of your daughter's baby while she's away at work. And your life is filled with stress and worry almost constantly, however it all worth it, because your granddaughter is being taken care of by family instead of someone they don't even know. However, you made a single mistake and now your granddaughter is dead. Did you do anything wrong? You would never until the sun dies out think to hurt her. Because of this, there is the argument to be made that if Uriel didn't make the mistake, she wouldn't have done it. Thus it was bad luck that killed the baby. Thus Tracey isn't morally responsible for what happened. However, there is also an alternative viewpoint. The baby died because of her mistake, so she is morally responsible for what she has done. Even if it wasn't intentional, she cannot defend against the fact that she did kill the baby. Thus, she is morally responsible for what happened. You might have had plenty of experience being locked in a warm car as a child and might have thought that it wasn't that dangerous. That begs the question, is it really that dangerous? In the US, cases like this are not common every year. Only 37 children die from vehicular heat stroke. More than 37 children are being locked in cars. I can tell you that it is a very common practice to leave kids in vehicles. If I put that into the frame, that's around one child dying like that every 10 days. Imagine how many more kids are being locked in cars without dying in that period. There aren't any statistics about the number of children being locked in cars recorded in the US, however, in Australia. The NRMA reported 1,846 cases of children being locked in cars. The US has 12.6 times the population, so that's roughly 23,260 children being locked in cars. When you do the math, the chances of a child dying when left unattended in a car is roughly 0.16%. Disclaimer: this is not an exact science, and there are some statistical assumptions taken towards reaching this result. However, the exact likelihood of heat stroke-based deaths for children depends on many factors. Temperature dynamics like rapid changes in heat are the biggest factor. The interior of a car can rise by 20 Fahrenheit in just 10 minutes of exposure to the mild sun. And the critical temperature of a child's body is about 104 Fahrenheit, meaning that heat stroke occurs at that temperature anymore, and we can expect death. Additionally, children's bodies heat up 3 to 5 times faster than adults, which makes them sensitive to temperature changes. Always remember that heat stroke is a very possible reality, even if the general statistics for heat stroke are low. If the conditions for heat stroke are met, there is little to nothing that can be done if things turn fatal. Because of this, it is important to be aware of ways to prevent situations where kids are left unattended in vehicles. If you see a child locked in a car, you should try to contact their parent or guardian. And whenever possible, you should double-check to make sure that you haven't left a child in the vehicle. Technologies like in-car cameras and sensors could also be used to make sure that kids are not left unattended. The tragic case of Uriel Schock serves as a stark reminder of the dangers of leaving children unattended in vehicles, even for brief periods. While Tracey Nix's actions were undoubtedly a tragic mistake, the incident raises profound questions about responsibility, accountability, and the fragility of human life. This case highlights the importance of constant vigilance and awareness when caring for children. It underscores the need for robust safety measures to prevent such tragedies, including increased awareness campaigns, technological solutions, and perhaps even stricter legal penalties. Ultimately, the loss of Uriel Schock is an immeasurable tragedy. Her family's pain serves as a poignant reminder of the preciousness of life and the importance of prioritizing child safety in all aspects of our lives.